Good morning, sky. Good morning, sun. Good morning, little winds that run. Good morning, birds. Good morning, trees. And creeping grass and brownie bees. How did you find out it was day? Who told you night had gone away? I'm wide awake. I'm up now too. I'll be right out to play with you. A pleasant morning to everyone. I hope this day remains a blessing for you and for the others who encounter and meet you throughout this day. A new day is always a gift from God. Let's begin with a small prayer, asking God to lead us and to guide us. Kindly close your eyes as we begin the day with a prayer. I come before you, O Lord, as the sun rises. May your hope rise up in me. As the birds sing, may your love flow out of me. As the light floods into this new day, may your joy shine through me. I come before you, O Lord, and drink in this moment of peace, that I may carry something of your hope, love, and joy today in my heart. Bless my teachers, my parents, and everyone who is seeking you with a sincere heart. Bless us and guide us all through this new day. Amen. It is good to feed our mind with a good thought at the beginning of a new day. Let me begin. Let me have the pleasure of feeding you with a good thought this morning. I like to derive the thought from a life experience of Napoleon, the great Emperor Napoleon. Once Napoleon met the ambassador of Russia and declared that he is going to wage a war against Russia, to which the ambassador replied, "Man desires one thing, but God fulfills another." The ambassador said, "Man desires one thing, but God fulfills another." And he remained silent. That provoked a lot of anger in Napoleon, who said, "Whatever I desire, I'm going to make it a reality." So, with a vengeance, he gathered a large troop and went ahead to attack Russia. Russia didn't go for a counter attack. They remained very clear in their thinking. They saw to it that Napoleon and his troop members don't get any food material in Russia to eat. And that was the time of winter, not simple winter, severe winter, intense winter. And therefore, Napoleon and his troop members were left without food. They couldn't bear the intense cold, and hence they fell dead in large numbers. Napoleon tasted defeat which he never dreamt of in life, and he returned from Russia with a lot of shame. The thought that I would like to pose for you at the beginning of this new day is this: pride will cost you everything but leave you with nothing. Pride will cost you everything and leave you with nothing. It is the pride of Napoleon that cost him the lives of so many thousands of troop members, and he was left with nothing. So beware that pride doesn't dominate in your lives. Always remain humble. Remember the words of the Russian ambassador who said, "Man desires one thing, but God fulfills another." Remain humble so that you don't lose everything, but you save or at least retain what God has given us. Have a good day. It's time to shake our heads, to shake our minds, to check our understanding in and through class test. Get ready and let me read the questions for you. Question number 1. Everyone can rise above their circumstances and achieve dash if they are dash to and dash about what they do. Question number 2. Precision means dash. Question number 3. List the promises of Mandela's government. Question number 4. Lyrics means dash of a song. Option A, tune. Option B, words. Option C, music. Option D, timings. Question number 5. How many national anthems were played on that big day? And did the blacks understand the wordings of their anthem? Take a couple of minutes and to try to complete the class test and proceed to the next part of the online classes. It's time for the model reading by the teacher. Kindly take page numbers 21 to 23. I shall begin with page number 21, the last paragraph, just immediately after oral comprehension check. Please listen to the reading with utmost attention. Page number 21, the last paragraph. In life, every man has twin obligations. Obligations to his family, to his parents, to his wife and children, and he has an obligation to his people, his community, his country. In a civil and humane society, each man is able to fulfill those obligations according to his own inclinations and abilities. But in a country like South Africa, it was almost impossible for a man of my birth and color to fulfill both of those obligations. In South Africa, a man of color who attempted to live as a human being was punished and isolated. In South Africa, a man who tried to fulfill his duty to his people was inevitably ripped from his family and his home and was forced to live a life apart, a twilight existence of secrecy and rebellion. I did not in the beginning choose to place my people above my family, but in attempting to serve my people, I found that I was prevented from fulfilling my obligations as a son, a brother, a father, and a husband. I was not born with a hunger to be free. I was born free, free in every way that I could know. Free to run in the fields near my mother's hut, free to swim in the clear stream that ran through my village, free to roast mealies under the stars and ride the broad backs of slow-moving bulls. As long as I obeyed my father and abided by the customs of my tribe, I was not troubled by the laws of man or God. It was only when I began to learn that my boyhood freedom was an illusion, when I discovered as a young man that my freedom had already been taken from me, that I began to hunger for it. At first, as a student, I wanted freedom only for myself. The transitory freedoms of being able to stay out at night, read what I pleased, and go where I choose. Later, as a young man in Johannesburg, I yearned for the basic and honorable freedoms of achieving my potential, of earning my keep, of marrying and having a family, the freedom not to be obstructed in a lawful life. But then I slowly saw that not only was I not free, but my brothers and sisters were not free. I saw that it was not just my freedom that was curtailed, but the freedom of everyone who looked like I did. That is when I joined the African National Congress, and that is when the hunger for my own freedom became the greater hunger for the freedom of my people. It was this desire for the freedom of my people to live their lives with dignity and self respect that animated my life, that transformed a frightened young man into a bold one, that drove a law abiding attorney to become a criminal, that turned a family loving husband into a man without a home, that forced a life loving man to live like a monk. I am no more virtuous or self sacrificing than the next man. But I found that I could not even enjoy the poor, unlimited freedoms I was allowed when I knew my people were not free. Freedom is indivisible. The chains on any of my people were the chains on all of them. The chains on all my people were the chains on me. I knew that the oppressor must be liberated just as surely as the oppressed. A man who takes away another man's freedom is a prisoner of hatred. He is locked behind the bars of prejudice and narrow mindedness. I am not truly free if I am taking away someone else's freedom, just as surely as I am not free when my freedom is taken from me. The oppressed and the oppressor alike are robbed of their humanity. Having listened to the reading, the model reading by the teacher, it's time for your personal reading. Please read the text at least twice and underline the difficult words. Please make use of this time to read and understand the text. If needed, replay the part of the video, the model reading by the teacher. After which, kindly proceed to the next part, the explanation of the text. It's time for the explanation of the text that we have listened and read personally. Page number 21, last paragraph. Let me pick out some difficult words for you before I go on to explain the text. Obligations means a duty or a commitment. Civil means courteous and polite. Humane means having or showing compassion or benevolence. Inclination means natural tendencies of behavior. Inevitably means unavoidably. Twilight means half light, semi-darkness. Secrecy means the action of keeping something secret. Rebellion means the action or process of resisting authority, convention, or control. What does the author mean by the text that we have just read? According to the author, every human being has its responsibility towards the family as well as the society. Generally, under normal circumstances, a person can maintain the balance between the two. But in countries like South Africa, it was never so easy. When a person of color would come up for a society, he would be arrested and taken away from his family, thus keeping them from fulfilling both responsibilities. In the beginning, Mandela did not put his people over his family, but it was only later when he realized that in order to be there for his people, he was compromising his duties towards his own family. Let's move on to page number 22, para 1. Let me pick up some difficult words and give you the meanings. Stream means a small narrow river. Mielis means a maize plant. Abided means obeyed. Boyhood means the state or time of being a boy. Illusion means a false idea or belief. Transitory means not permanent. Yearned means have an intense feeling or longing for something. What does the words of the author communicate to us? It communicates that the author did not have the plan to stand against the apartheid system early in life. He lived his childhood like any normal child in South Africa. He only had to follow the rules set up by his father or the customs of his tribe. As soon as he grew up and began to learn the facts as to how people of color are treated, he decided to stand against it. He had this urge for freedom from inside earlier just for himself, staying out at night, etc., and later for having a basic life not just for himself but for everyone. It was in Johannesburg they had to struggle for having a peaceful marriage, family, and basic amenities which everyone has access to, where law and order exists. Let's now move on to the rest of the text. Let me pick up some difficult words. Curtailed means to reduce, impose a restriction on. Dignity means the state or quality of being worthy of honor or respect. Frightened means afraid or anxious. Monk means a member of a religious community of men, typically living under vows of poverty, chastity, and obedience. Virtuous means having or showing high moral standards. Indivisible means unable to be divided or separated. Prejudice means a strong dislike without any good reason. Let us now move on to the explanation of the text. Nelson Mandela joined the African National Army, ANC, when he realized it is not only him whose basic rights were snatched away, but of all those who looked like him. He had this fire inside him to free his people from the injustice. It was this fire that changed the author completely as a man, from being scared to brave, a lawyer to the one breaking the law, a family man to a man without a home, and a lively man into a being a monk. It was the knowledge that he and his people have restricted freedom that made him into a selfless man as opposed to before. According to him, freedom cannot be divided. Snatching it away from some was equivalent to taking it away from everyone, and that meant taking it away from the author. Finally, the author mentions that the need to free the oppressor is as high as that of the oppressed, because the oppressor is bounded by the shackles of hatred. He has the weight of all the people who he has tormented, for he carries the curses of all of their families. For taking away someone else's freedom and making them a prisoner, he becomes a prisoner of biasness. That thus he is robbed of his humanity and need to be freed. As we have come to the end of the chapter, having explained each paragraph with words that are difficult by giving their meanings and giving them an elaborate explanation, I feel it is good to give a summary of the lesson as we come to the end of the chapter. This chapter is an extract from the autobiography of Nelson Mandela, born 18 July 1918, the first black president of South Africa. It begins with a description of the inaugural ceremony which took place on the 10th of May 1994, where the entire nation, along with many international leaders, embraced the victory of a newly and fairly elected government. It involves speeches by the president and the two deputy presidents, followed by an impressive air show of fighter jets and helicopters. Long ago, in the first decade of the 20th century, white supremacy introduced a system of apartheid and made life a living hell for the dark-skinned population. It gave rise to one of the most inhumane societies of the world. Many people have struggled and sacrificed for basic human rights. The author expressed his desire to thank all those freedom fighters who couldn't live to see this autumn day. He referred to the citizens as the greatest asset of that country. The author continues saying, it is these people he gathered his courage from. Mandela believes that courageous is not the man who is fearless, but the man who has overcome fear. He also mentioned the two responsibilities of every human, and how, in order to fulfill his obligation towards the society, his obligation towards his family was neglected. He became a man of people when he realized that the idea of freedom was an illusion for him and people like him. It was then he joined the African National Congress and fought for his rights till he became the first black president of the nation. According to him, the oppressor is as much a prisoner as the oppressed. As soon as the former robs the oppressed of their freedom, he himself gets robbed of his humanity. Thus, the oppressor too is not free. It's time to evaluate our understanding of the lesson, to check what we have understood in this 45 minutes of class. I would like to read the questions for you so that you can attempt to answer them and to make sure whether you have understood the teaching of the day. Question number 1. What do you understand by human rights? How many fundamental rights do we have in democratic India? Question number 2. Form a sentence each using the following words: inclination, yearned, virtuous, curtailed, illusion. Question number 3. Did Mandela have plans to stand against apartheid system early in life? And the final question: why did Mandela join African National Congress? Please take your time, complete the evaluation, and then we shall move on to the final phase of today's class. It's time to recap, to recoil what we have learned throughout this day. The summary of the lesson, the autobiography titled Long Walk to Freedom, will be displayed for you I hope you enjoyed the classes from Monday till today, the 27th. I'm sure you got a better understanding of this autobiography of Nelson Mandela. We shall have better discussions and better elaborations once the offline starts commences, if God willing. So thank you for your patient listening. God bless you and have a nice day.